So Steve and I started the band just really not even thinking about it would be a big deal per se. We sort of had our own things we were doing.
We formed the band together as a two-piece all those years ago in my lounge. That's where it started.
Because we were both drummers at that stage, and I only played guitar a little bit, and Steve just asked me one day, well, what else do you play anything else? We could start a black metal band.
We've had members come and go. This is Jolene's second album with us. She's a very charismatic person. She's an amazing vocalist. It's the same deal when we were losing our previous vocalist. She was someone I'd always had in the back of my head.
Ross and Steve, like, you know, without them we wouldn't be where we are, like, at all.
They work really well as a team. They're the ultimate team. They're what any team should be and aspire to be.
Ross and Steve started the band, and I guess it's their baby in a sense. It's like a big part of their lives, so to them it's really important. They put a lot of work and a lot of time into it. You know, not a lot of bands have those characters in the band. You have to get a manager or someone out from outside of the group, but these guys just do it themselves.
I mean, as far as who we've had honour to open for and the tours we've been on, like, it's just amazing. Like, I mean, so many bands pipe dream and say, oh yeah, one day we'll do this and we'll do that, but you know, with Bulletbelt, it's just got off our asses and done it, and it's, you know, all thanks to them, you know, driving it.
Lords of darkness, lords of night, the light bringer of the light. I curse your name, I curse you out. For injustice, I smite you. For all the bloodshed, I despise you.
9th Centuries is about the persecution that the church and the Christians inflicted on mainly females.
The burning times, the witch hunts between the 14th to 17th century.
Jolene sort of incorporated all that into her lyrics, as then presented in a mini story of timelines through the songs in the album.
I don't want to get all deep and meaningful and spiritual on it, but I mean, it's something that really hits home for me. Just the injustice of witch hunts and murder and torture, and it's all for what though? We'd all be killed. We'd all be killed today for something. You would get killed for delivering a child and the child came out deformed or stillborn. You know, if the milk of a cow turns sour, oh, of course that's witchcraft. And in some parts of the world, there's stuff still going on, like Papua New Guinea and stuff like that. There's cases of that stuff happening all the time.
For me, the album is about people that were unfairly singled out and persecuted and oppressed for basically being different to the way the rest of society thinks.
So it's pretty much satanic panic. The irony is most of these women were twice as smart as anyone in the church or who believed in Christianity at the time, because they were forward thinking and they were reading the stars and they were starting to think about math and science.
They call it the Women's Holocaust. Basically excuses used to persecute females or require land off people or anything like that, and lasted for 9 centuries, so hence the title.
This was written in law for 900 years that they were allowed to commit these atrocities. This time around on this album, the big difference from what we did 2 years ago on Rise of the Banshee is that we've spent a lot more time in pre-production.
And it's that pre-production that makes it feel like it's natural and goes together.
It's also gone a lot more technical in a lot of ways. Probably the start of Dethrone is a good example of that. Even the tone that Jolene gives and the aggression that she sort of gives each of the lyrics comes out quite a bit differently in this album as well.
9th Centuries is a lot different from Rise of the Banshee. One, because I didn't even know what the lyrical structure composed with the music was going to sound like. I recorded that album not hearing my lyrics on top of the music until we were in the studio.
She joined the band just before our last album, Rise of the Banshee. Came in very late. Lyrics were being written on the day they were being recorded. It was rushed. It was her first time in the studio. Probably something she didn't enjoy, and there was a bit of headbutting that time around. Now she's been with us for 2 years. She's really found her own vocal style, and that fits with what we do.
You're going to hear that there's been a lot more preparation gone into it. Like, we've spent about a year working on this, and even putting in a lot more practices, a lot more sessions sort of purely on the writing side of things.
We've learnt very quickly that you cannot play live and write music at the same time.
I'd say it's just got a little more to it, as far as like stylistic influences, and just there's a bit more complexity to it and variety.
All the styles of heavy metal and genres that have been and gone, the one thing that always stands the test of time is a great song. That was really a big thing for me this time around, was the composition. People think metal music is you know, just a big cacophony of noise, but it's actually not. It's very hooky. And I think this time around that's the big thing that we've done with these songs, is we've really made great tunes.
I think we were looking for a sound that's professional, a big step above just a home recording, or someone doing it on their computer in their basement. We wanted a really big sounding professional album.
It's easy for people to record their own stuff, and that's fine if you're after demos or just something for people to listen to, but we're after quality.
But we also wanted to keep that raw energy of like a practice room or a live show or something like that. Trying to keep those kind of really human, organic elements within the songs, but record them in a professional way that, you know, that instantly translates to like great music.
The studio we recorded at, the lab, the studio owner was amazing. He gave us the keys and said, "My studio is yours. You stay here as long as it takes to get it done."
And the lab, there's a lot of history to it. There's people in there that know exactly what they're doing, rather than dreaming of knowing exactly what they're doing. I think initially we were going for a bit more of an old school, raw kind of sound, heavy, thrashy, dark, atmospheric, just pure metal pretty much, I guess, yeah.
So the initial sound, I suppose, I mean, I just want it to sound fucking awesome. That's just the short end of the stick, really.
Life to us, so you just figure out how much deep you want. Yeah, just by moving them around a bit.
Yeah, so the first 2 days we tracked the drums. I was really happy with the way it went. The concern I always have coming into the studio is getting on the click. We don't play to a click live, I don't practice to a click a lot.
The drumming is the person that keeps everyone in time, so they're the ones who start.
We start with the setup and making sure that it sounds good, particularly on the drums.
The problem with the drums is it's the hardest thing to mic up as well. So there's like, you know, 10 microphones sitting on one instrument that moves around with temperature. The instrument itself changes with temperature, so that's always the hardest thing to kind of get nailed.
What's the rattle there? Something loose in the lug or something.
I think Steve's drumming, the consistency and just the aggression and power in it, it's relentless. There's some stuff on that album we were watching him track, it's just like a minute straight of just double kick and madness.
Steve is very much the go-getter people person. He usually gets us the gigs. He's quite persistent in getting in contact with everyone and make sure things are getting done, and he's really good at thinking outside the square.
Steve, being the old man he is, he's the comedian in the band, loves to give us all shit.
Would it really make the documentary if we fired Tim on camera? Yeah.
So Tim Finn was playing a gig with the ventriloquist.
Times are tough.
Steve and I are very much on the same wavelength as far as the sort of bands that we listen to and the style that we listen to, but we also are very aware about nothing gets done without hard work.
I would say I probably bring a lot of the ideas, and I try to get ideas from left field. I try not to look at what other bands are doing. I try to look at what other successful people are doing in different fields, whether it's music or film or sport even, you know, as crazy as it sounds, and try and bring these elements a little bit more into what we do. But I'm just kind of the mind that when I get an idea and I feel that it's something that we should do, I just keep pushing it. And sometimes when I bring ideas to this band, I'm met with resistance by 4 people, but I just keep nudging and until we do it when I know it's the right thing to do.
Steve is the perfect person for that because he's probably even though he's sort of the manager, co-manager with Bulletbelt, he's probably the most passionate about the band as well. And he's also a really great drummer, and he does know this. He knows the tunes. He's passionate about the tunes, and he just comes in and lays down those beats like there's no tomorrow. The next step in that process is the bass. So the bass again is providing almost like a melodic but rhythmic kind of combination to the song as well. I guess what Tim brings to this situation as a bass player is that he also brings a really strong creative element to his instrument. The way he writes his music is that he's thinking about the melody as well as the rhythmic part of his instrument, which, to be honest, when you get to the end of the whole process, you hear him playing on the beat but also providing a whole new melody line through the whole song. It's just, it literally is incredible to watch. Just the way he's so creative. It's probably, that would be up one of the top things that I look forward to when we record an album. And he didn't disappoint this time. He's just to listen to those bass lines is just really a thrill. Yeah. Tim, as usual, absolutely monstered his bass parts. We call him one take Tim. I think he got a couple of one takes this time, and just ripping these ridiculous bass fills.
Tim's he's a humble genius in a way. Like he's a silly fucking egg. He's a funny guy. His personality's hilarious. I think he's the comic relief of the band in a way. But yeah, he is a really accomplished musician.
Tim is our special boy. Yeah, he's good laugh. He's good laugh, and yeah, we all have a lot of fun in the band.
I have no idea if I'm even doing it remotely right.
I'm embarrassed to be in the background moving.
Ah, there we go.
Tim's got so much energy. Ross and I sometimes talk that it's a very good problem to have in a band of someone that brings at times too much energy to what we're doing. Whereas people who are in bands will know that they're constantly being let down by people not turning up to band practice or all this kind of crap that goes on.
G'day Sheila. Here's some K-Fry, let's go to Wainui.
I've never heard Tim say a bad word about anyone.
Sweet.
Excited.
Maybe if I could breastfeed
Yes.
that.
Just even note to me.
Tim takes a lot of crap from me, it's meant in the right way, and I think he takes it that way.
Gives a hoon.
You don't eat the whole thing.
Oh, what?
You just suck the pins out of it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he's pretty.
Oh, savage.
Tim has a list of things he's not allowed to do on stage, which is about this long now, and that's just evolved over the years. But Tim's a huge part of the band, and he really brings amazing bass playing. He's a very talented musician. His bass runs, we've kind of, at first when he joined the band, we were a little bit not sure what the fuck was going on here, but we've just kind of embraced it, and it's really part of our sound there. And he just does some amazing bass runs on the album, which people will get to hear.
Is it the H3000 that's that classic bass chorus?
His riffs are a really big part of this band. I think that's why the bass is always right up there. You know, watching him track his bass was just mad. It's like that's the song, effectively. You know, the guitars sit there holding it like together, always rhythm for the bass. You can basically have the album as a bass album.
I guess wild bass runs reflect on a wild imagination, you know. Yeah, I guess I always just try and bring something a little different, something that complements a riff but kind of steers away from the basic elements of it at the same time. Other than that, there's no particular thought process that goes into it. You really just have to feel what you're playing more than anything else, you know?
So that when we're because Steve and I are doing trims, we probably won't be able to pick those the same as we slow down. You know, it'll be
right.
So then the boys were up with their rhythm, same deal. You know, a few issues early, but just playing to a click and really getting it tight is the key.
With the guitars, it's not as easy as just tracking guitars. You've got to track rhythm guitars and then the melody line for the rhythm guitars and then the solos. So that's like a three-parter.
So I guess the next stage from that is to move on to the guitars, who are providing more of the melody lines, the riffs, the ear candy that you kind of hear and remember. And so that's kind of where I come in, I guess. You know, usually, because I play more the rhythm guitar, so it's my turn to then enhance that ear current.
Oh, he's a really good songwriter. The first time I met Ross, I thought he's a guy that is going to be very serious and very... I mean, Ross is a very serious guy, but he's also very fun.
Ross, who's extremely organised and focused, and just he's really good at taking care of the business side of things. You know, a lot of those tasks being stuff that none of us would want to touch, e.g. money and that.
And Ross is the wise old head, even though I'm older than him. And he is very good at looking at my ideas and a little bit more of a kind of business kind of sense and plotting it all out and making it doable.
He's just very meticulous, very professional, and made sure not to miss anything, and he had everything written down, and it was really good. And that helped me out a lot too.
Seth's been a bit of a player in the Wellington metal scene for years now. I just think Seth hasn't really had that opportunity yet to get in a band that's trying to do things and move forward.
It's my hoodie. I just use the sleeve of it to dampen it so I can go like... without any string sound. It's just a cheat. Probably shouldn't be doing it.
Now it's on film, we all know you cheat.
We've had a few guitarist changes over the past 2 years, and we were kind of 4 months out from the album.
Hey bro, you know Credence Clearwater Revival?
I have no idea.
You must know some.
I don't know any song.
The newest member, I've only been in for a few months at this stage of the recording process, but he's fitting in really well.
And he's really brought a lot of, like his guitar solos are amazing, but he's also brought a lot of really smart songwriting ideas to the tunes, a lot of really cool guitar harmonies, stuff that Ross and I wouldn't think about doing. So he's just added another layer of polish and kind of wow factor to what we're doing.
Yeah, I mean, the first time I saw Seth play, I was like, wow, we need that in the band.
I think the relationship with Seth coming into sort of an already established kind of group of people, I think has actually been really good. And I think it's because of his attitude that he's brought into it. He just wants to help the songs be the best they can be. I think it's benefited the album because there's been that fifth kind of piece of the puzzle that we haven't really had in the past, a sort of a melodic guitarist. We really do need someone to come in and just say, hey Ross, this is going to sound amazing. And so I think Seth has really kind of brought that into the band here.
Rocks are built on the foundation, greed or residual walls. Power of dawn which tries to see the old about.
There was a lot of pressure recording the album in such a short amount of time. The worst thing that could happen with this album, for me personally, is for me to lose my voice completely. Which I honestly thought was going to happen because I came into this album completely sick.
She was having coconut milk, which, you know, is just, so I guess that's her preferred thing.
I'd finished my coconut water and I'd filled it up with water again. And then I was in the vocal booth going, fuck, does this water taste so weird? And then probably an hour later, after I was drinking out of it, Seth goes, oh, I put my chewing gum in there. And I was like, what? And I was so fucking annoyed. I did steam baths and I was chucking back old grandma's cough medicine.
When you're doing vocals, it's not as easy as A to B on vocals either. You've got to split that up because, you know, the voice box can be a pretty fragile thing, especially when you're screaming. So we've got to spread that out over a few days.
What do you think?
Yeah.
It's got lots of guts to it.
Yeah. Are we going to move on to another song before we double up stuff? Is that what you were thinking?
Yeah, how's your voice doing?
It's okay.
Yeah, I think getting the first takes with stream power and, like you said, pushing through so we've got the actual full phase.
Yeah,
and then go back into the second the other ones.
I think doing another one and then maybe having a break. And then
Usually that's stretched over a few more days just because we don't want to wear Jolene's vocals out too much.
I think Jolene's lyrics and her phrasing and the stories that she tells on the album, 9 Centuries, are really the best stuff she's ever done. She has a tatty old notebook. It's the thing I always tease her about. It's just like bits of paper falling out everywhere, and that's all her ideas. And she spends a lot of time, whenever she comes up with ideas, writing all this stuff down.
And Jolene obviously brings this amazing vocal that you would kind of expect out of her in a way because she's such a nice woman.
Woman of the bakery!
She's way more involved in her own personal kind of take on what the lyrics should be and what the song should be about, and she just, because of that, she just delivers a vocal performance which is, you know, just amazing to listen to.
You could be in any mood, any place, any given situation. As soon as you read those lyrics, you're drawn into that world, you're drawn into that situation for, you know, the time you read them. She's the ultimate storyteller, yes, you know, and her talents for bringing those stories out from here, from her mind, to the paper, to on stage, to your mind, is absolutely amazing. Something that all vocalists should aspire to be able to do.
The last night, the last few hours, we were all struggling. She was struggling.
Under a lot of pressure and stress because of the time constraint we had.
Boy, what I can't commend her enough. She sang 8 songs in 2 days. We're doing double takes. I don't know many vocalists that would be able to pull that off. I think it was important for us to get out of Wellington and come to Auckland to record this album. I wanted us to live, eat and breathe this album. I wanted us to be together. I wanted us to bring our collective energies together and put that collective energy on the tracks. What a week. It's been amazing. Probably better than I hoped it could be.
I think this is probably the most excited I've been about a recorded piece of music that Bulletbelt has done.
I'm incredibly happy with the result of this. The tones are sounding amazing. You know, I always look out for how well the bass tone comes out.
I'm really proud of this album. I think we got something that we can all be pretty happy with through the blood, sweat and tears and everything that it took to really get there.
Finishing the album is a really good feeling. I think we all worked really well together.
It was just sounding so good, like just the tones were how we kind of imagined they would sound, and I think Cam had really sort of captured what we were trying to do.
Cam comes from a very, more of an underground style of metal than perhaps we're perceived to be playing. And we've always thought the music that we play and the compositions are going to suit a little bit less polish and a little bit more raw. So I think the end result is going to sound amazing and huge, but it's still going to have that little bit of rawness, and I think that really comes from Cam's understanding of the metal underground.
He was easy to work with. He was just there to help us get what we wanted to get across. So rather than coming in as a producer and having a vision or an idea, a preconception already set up, he came in and listened to us and helped us to get the result we wanted.
I trust Stephen Ross's judgment, and you know, he came highly recommended, so yeah, I have an immense amount of trust for everyone in that regard, and I think Cameron's doing a great job.
Working with Cam was amazing. It was awesome. It was really good to work with someone I've known previously. You know, we used to hang out a long time ago. He put in a lot of hard work. I'm just real happy with what he's done. And also, from my previous experience with recordings, this is a million times better, 100,000 times better than what I experienced last time.
It was easy. He was just chilled out. He hung out with us, had a couple of beers with us, stayed with us a couple of times. It was just like recording with a friend. It was really good.
I think Cam already knew. He came into it and wasn't trying to stamp his own sort of sound on us.
I think the end result of Cam's mixes and final master is just going to be this enormous sounding heavy metal monster of an album.
What I hope for when people listen to this album, if they've picked it up and they like this sort of genre of music, I mean, I hope they love it.
I just hope that anyone who hears this album, it inspires them, because this is a lot of our passion and our energy and our sweat.
I hope it changes their lives. You know? I hope some 15-year-old will be sitting on a train on the way home, listening to one of our tracks, going, cool, I was listening to hip-hop before, but I'm converting to metal. That would be amazing.
If they can get some of the feelings that I get when I listen to some of my favourite albums, then make this old man a very happy old metaler.
I hope they'll hear the work that's gone into to creating this kind of music. I hope that they'll read the lyrics and understand the stories that go along with each of the songs, because I think that's actually a really important part of what we're doing as well.
You know, we've called ourselves a black metal band or all these things over the years, but I think at this stage in 2016, Bulletbelt is just a big heavy metal band, and that's how the album's going to sound.